Welcome to Pastor's Perspective, sponsored by Calvary Chapel, Costa, Mesa. My name is Brian Perez, and we are not live. If you're listening on the radio on Good Friday 2022, April 15th, we recorded this episode on yesterday, Thursday afternoon. And if you're on hold on Thursday afternoon, stay on hold. We will get to you as soon as we can. We will be live on Monday the 18th. So if you've got a question for us today on Friday, write it down so you don't forget it. And then call us back on Monday. No, don't forget us. That would definitely not be good. So in the studio today, answering your questions, Brian Brodersen from Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa in Southern California. You hear Pastor Brian on the Back to Basics radio program most of the time. Sometimes he puts Char on, which is kind of cool to hear Char teaching every now and then. That's kind of a cool decision you guys made.
Yeah, and it's been interesting. The feedback's been really good. Initially, It was like, wait, what is going on here? How come I like to turn into Pastor Brian? Who's this new voice? And I mean, that kind of happened when the very first time that he aired. And then from that point forward, the feedback has been really good. Like, hey, I really like Char, he's doing a good job. And yeah. So I think he's doing a good job.
And he's teaching this Sunday at Calvary, Easter Sunday.
Yeah, we are going to have a sunrise service, and we are having a 10 a.m. service. So normally we have 8:30 and 11. This Sunday we're having 6 a.m. and 10 a.m., and I will preach at the 6 a.m. service, and he will preach at the 10 a.m. service, yes. And we will be talking about, guess what?
The Easter Bunny?
Close.
Okay.
The resurrection.
The resurrection. Yeah. Oh, got it. All right. Hey, you're right. That was close. Cool. So check it out. Come on out if you can. Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa this Sunday starts at 6 o'clock, the sunrise service. And then the sun is supposed to come up at about 6:40, 6:45. So it's always neat to see the...
No, sunrise is 6:15.
Is it 6? Oh, that's when it starts to come up.
Yeah.
And then, by 6:45, it's like...
Yeah.
You need your sunglasses on and everything.
Exactly, yeah. It's going to be great. Can't wait.
cccm.com's got all the details. I thought I heard Bobby laugh. I didn't see him laugh. So is that what's going on? We can hear Bobby but not see him?
Can you
magic.
hear me?
There he is. And there's Phil Metzger, too.
Yeah.
I didn't think Phil was going to make it today. Hi, Phil.
Hey, guys.
What's going on?
Oh, not much.
I think you're taking this break to be on the program just to escape all the other stuff that you've been going on. This is like your time to rest, right?
Exactly. I can put on the headphones and nobody bothers me for 30 minutes an hour.
That's right. You do have to leave early today, so we'll throw all the questions your way today. So do we have any updates on what's going on at Calvary San Diego?
What's been updated? Yeah, things continue to just keep going forward. We've had about, I can't even tell you how many thousands of people have come through from Ukraine, through Mexico, across into San Ysidro border where we're at. It's in the thousands and thousands. I can't even tell you the number at this point. But it's really moving really well. The U.S. government's doing a good job. The Mexican government's doing a good job. People are getting moved across, heading into all over America. Just kind of more the grind of like making sure we're always present. We keep being there. People know we're there. We're really trying to protect, families and so on. When somebody says, I could host a family, we really have to know who they are. So we protect, where people go. That's kind of been the main thing we've been focused on the last several days. But overall, it's going real well. Amazing people, amazing stories, absolutely life-changing experience for our whole church.
We got a call here at the radio station. Hopefully you guys got in touch with this couple that has, I guess they own property in Nevada or something. So they were willing to take 2 families and, house them in Nevada. So we just gave them your guys' phone number there at Calvary San Diego. So we're hoping that you guys connected and everything.
I'm sure whoever's been fielding the phone calls got on that and put them through. We've got our own little vetting process. So yeah, I'm sure that's happening.
Phil, it's amazing this whole thing. Of course, 3 weeks ago you were in Ukraine, you were across the border in Hungary, you were going back and forth. You came home, thought you'd take a break and maybe turn around, get on a flight and go back. And instead, the Ukrainians came to you. And so you've been immersed in this work, and what a blessing that you guys have been there to do that. And we've been watching from a distance and helping in ways that we could. But man, there are some extraordinary things that are happening in the context of the war and inside the country with a number of our good friends. God is using people to do pretty extraordinary things. So John Chubik, our missions pastor and former missionary pastor to Ukraine, John gave us an update last night, and a couple of the fascinating stories had to do with, number one, the insulin issue. Many Ukrainians, of course, are diabetic, just like many Americans are, and there's no insulin supply in the country. And so people are dying, literally, because they can't get their insulin. Well, through the efforts of just some of our good friends, people who have lived in Ukraine, spent much of their life there, are not in the country now. But anyway, they just started reaching out and trying to figure out how to help and what they could do. And this is translated into connecting with some of the large medical corporations who are now in negotiations about just supplying as much insulin as is needed. Just amazing stuff. And even to the point that one of the Ukrainian government, one of the cabinet members, received insulin through this connection that we have, and then suddenly was just like, wow, we can't believe that you guys are doing this, that you care, for our people, for our country. So that was fascinating. The other really amazing story had to do with the bandages that the soldiers are requesting. These are these special bandages that are literally like lifesavers. You get shot, you put a bandage on, and you don't bleed to death. And so they started looking around. Where can we find these? They found out, Israel makes these. They make the best quality ones imaginable. We have some friends in Israel. They called them up and said, "Hey, you guys heard anything about this?" Well, yes, of course we've heard about it. They were both former IDF. One of them was an IDF officer. Said, "We'll take care of it. How many do you need?" And John said, "Well, they're thinking like, well, maybe 30. But now that you said there's an inroad, maybe 300." And it's like, okay, how about thousands? We'll get you thousands. So the Israelis are supplying through our channel the Ukrainian army with these life-saving bandages. So, wow.
Can't even seriously, I wake up and I think, what in the world is going on here? I'll literally, my mornings, 4 to 6, I spend not helping at the border here, but like literally ordering. I got an order for bandages from Israel, and I'm thinking like, right. I am an arms dealer now. I am. What am I doing? We've been, and then these connections with, we kind of cold called some pharmaceutical CEOs just from LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Thank you, LinkedIn. And
wow.
When you find out that one of their kids is diabetic, and then they hear what this is for,
wow,
they roll out the red carpet.
Amazing.
People, European companies, Israeli companies, American companies, people have been unbelievable. And yeah, we've got orders now for things directly from cabinet members in the Ukrainian government for medications that they want, Calvary Chapel to supply them with. And I'm looking at the zeros and I'm thinking, oh, mama, Lord, let's go. We need money now. Let's go. Let's get this. So
wow.
What I think the opportunities are going to be for the gospel now and forever in that country when this is all done are going to be unprecedented.
Yeah.
Seriously unprecedented.
And it's already proving to be just an amazingly fertile field for the gospel, right? John was telling us about a Ukrainian couple that are they are refugees themselves, but they went into a refugee camp in, I don't know, Poland or somewhere. Mm-hmm. And they found that the refugees in the camps were so open to the gospel, they just decided to set up camp and start ministering, start kind of a little church and just start sharing the gospel. So, yeah, wow. So
last night we had a surreal experience at our camp here. We've had about 3,500 people on any given moment at this camp. Mm-hmm. It's been clearing out now that our government, has been able to move people faster. But last night I went over, we brought Jeremy Camp over to do a worship service there. And as we were walking into the camp, there was a mariachi band playing. and the Secretary of Immigration was doing a wedding because a young couple had gotten engaged in Ukraine and had to flee, and they ended up in Tijuana. And she told them, you will be married in Mexico before you go to America. So she married them. So yeah, we joined a wedding last night, and then we topped it off with Jeremy leading worship for the whole people that were there. We're going to have a Good Friday service. I'm not leading it, but the people there are going to, they have a full Good Friday service that's going to be happening at the camp tomorrow as well.
Man. Wow. Exciting stuff. And I shared last night with the church, I just said, look, we're all getting updates on through the news. We're getting updates through social media. However, we're keeping track of what's going on in that part of the world. But we're not hearing the whole story. We're hearing bits and pieces of it. But there's a whole nother story that is unfolding right alongside of everything else that's going on. And it's the story of what God is doing through his people. And obviously Calvary Chapel's a part of that. We're obviously not all of what's going on, but it's amazing how the body of Christ is rallying. And I was saying this last night, Phil, and I wonder, I don't really know. Has there ever been a time or a war situation? There probably has. I'm just not aware of it. Where like Christians all around the world rallied around a people like this. It's pretty fascinating to me.
It's unprecedented. I agree with you. I think it's unprecedented. It's brought so much unity among the people of God all over the world. Yeah. And I think social media has had a good part in that, to be honest with you, of getting the word out. Here's what's really happening. I think we feel like we kind of have a sense of what's going on. And I'm amazed at the people of God have been amazing.
Yep, absolutely.
Indeed, and you can give towards the effort at Phil's church's website, calvarysd.com/Ukraine, or you can give through the Calvary Chapel Costa Mesa website, cccm.com. Go there and click Give. All right, to the phones we go on this pre-recorded Pastor's Perspective program. We're going to begin with Suzanne in California. How can we help you, Suzanne?
Hi, thank you, and thanks for sharing the great news on Ukraine, because most of it's so devastating. But I have a question about a young man, a young adult who is homosexual, and there's really two parts to this, who's walked away from the faith and stated the two aren't related. And when I expressed to him that while I could accept this, it just isn't something I can fully embrace because of my belief system being a Christian. And he said that I should probably really recheck what's in the Bible, because in the New Testament, I didn't have the source memorized, but some stuff he had read, is that in the New Testament, the original language, when they mention God, the disdain of man with man, is that the word actually meant man with boy. And so as long as it was man with man, now that's okay, biblically in the New Testament time. And I, because he didn't have the information and I didn't have a verse to reference, I just wanted to get your perspective on that. And secondly, the walking away from faith part is because if there's this all-knowing God, he knew Adam and Eve would sin in the first place, so why did he act surprised? And, things like, look at the event in Ukraine. If he's all-knowing, he knows these things are going to happen and lets them happen anyway. So I don't really have a good answer for all that.
Okay. Bobby, what would you say to either one of those?
Yeah, those are two different questions. I'll jump on the homosexual question. Matthew Vines was at Harvard, grew up in an evangelical home, and he is gay affirming, homosexual himself, and he is a part of a movement right now to get into the churches an indoctrination that tackles the verses on the Bible to show that homosexuality is permissible, and it was permissible. And so he is actually a professed virgin saving himself for the right man to come his way to get married to. You have people that will even want to say that homosexuality is biblical. But I think that if you look at atheists and their criticisms of the Bible, or skeptics, they read the Bible and they point that stuff out as ammunition against it, because a clear reading shows that homosexuality is wrong. In Romans chapter 1, there's a list of different sins that is talked about there. And it talks about men giving themselves to men in unnatural relations. So there's an argument that goes something like this. Yeah, it was sin for the men that were giving themselves to homosexual acts in an unnatural way, but it's natural to me. And so it's okay then. But that same logic wouldn't apply as it relates to all the other surrounding sins. Like, oh, okay, it's natural for me to gossip, so it's okay. It's natural for me to commit idolatry, so it's okay. It's natural for me to, you fill in the blank. So the other thing that I think our culture needs to realize is homosexuality was rampant in the Greco-Roman world from which the Bible emerged. And sexual sin was loud. There was man-boy relationships that were taking place. I mean, you can even go back and read Socrates and Plato and even learn about some of this kind of stuff taking place. So that said, I think that we look at our culture as if we're the sexually evolved culture, like we're finally pulling off the shackles of this Victorian morality of the Bible. But the boldness that emerged from the Greco-Roman world was a boldness of Christians that were flying a morality in the face of a culture that went sexually awry. They were even more debauched than us. Let me prove it like this. They had sexual orgies taking place to their temple goddess. Like, we haven't even got that bad in America yet. I won't be surprised if it's coming. But they had sexual orgies taking place to their temple goddess. And so when they were talking about sexuality and being chaste and fleeing sexual immorality, and then we come in and we try to like say that's not the case today, it's incredible. So we're living in a very sexually confused world. I just did two talks on homosexuality at a conference this past weekend with my friend Frank Turek. And Frank even brought this statement up. I'll read it. He said, logic check. Here's what we're saying in our culture. Men and women are the same. And then a man can transition into a woman. And so on the one hand, we're saying men and women are the same. But on the other hand, we're saying a man can transition into a woman. But we can't give a definition of what a woman is. And so we have so much confusion. Hold fast to the word of God, Suzanne. Thank you for your question.
Phil Metzger.
I mean, I'm just like, thank you. I'm just basking in it all. That was good stuff. I was enjoying that. I don't remember the second question, so I'll focus on the first one again, and maybe we can repeat the second part of it, because that was a full answer. But I also think too, just from that's a great answer on that issue. But I think there's something else to be said too, like on the sense of, I think as Christians, we're constantly learning how to be in the world, but not of the world. And this is a particular issue that's of real importance in how we express ourselves, how we understand. It's one thing to know right and wrong from Scripture. It's another thing to hold people to a biblical view who don't even believe in Jesus. That's a whole different issue. And on top of that, how do we share our faith? Is the behavior, is that particular issue itself the problem, or is there something deeper that God wants to work into each one of our lives? And I'm constantly trying to remind myself and our church and people around me that as long as we focus on issues, it's easy to be judgmental, to be critical. We need to move away from issues and just see people. So it's not the issue of, homosexuality, but it's people. And so I appreciate that the caller's question was regarding a person, because when we stop seeing people, it's easy to become kind of very judgmental about that. But I would just definitely encourage us to, we know what the scriptures say. Now, as evangelists in the world that we live, how do we express these truths, not in a compromising way, but in a way that can be clear, but also not confrontational? We don't need to confront on these matters.
I think Suzanne's other question was the one we've heard before about, if God knew all this evil was going to happen.
Yeah. But I don't want to answer that either. I want to stick with this question.
This is an important topic.
I'm kidding. I will answer Suzanne's question, but I just wanted to clarify. Bobby and Phil both, obviously, you guys did a great job. But I wanted to clarify because specifically, this person said to you, Suzanne, it was to you that you were talking to this person, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, someone very close.
Yeah. So he said that the translation was not men with men, but men with boys. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So that is incorrect. He is wrong about that. The NIV does a great job with 1 Corinthians 6:9 is the passage. And it reads just like this. It says, "Do you not know that wrongdoers will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived. Neither the sexually immoral, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor men who have sex with men." There is a footnote here that says the word men who have sex with men translate two Greek words that refer to the passive and active participants in homosexual relations. So there's no reference to boys here. But that is a common argument that it was pedophilia that they were condemning and it wasn't, men with one another. But it just simply is not correct from the text itself. But then going back to the other, it's these kinds of things are kind of a package deal. You get all of this stuff thrown in. Mm-hmm. Well, the Bible doesn't really say that. But then but what about God? And why would he create this? And why would he allow that? And it always goes back to, why would God allow evil? Why would God allow bad things to happen? One thing that I kind of like to point out to people is that most of the bad stuff happens in the world because people disobey God. God said, love your neighbor as yourself. So let's just think for a moment. What if everybody on the planet decided to take that seriously and do that very thing? I'm going to love my neighbor as myself. 99% of the trouble in the world would be over if people just began to do that. So it's really not God's fault that we have a war in the Ukraine and things like that. These are the consequences of disobedience to God. So I think sometimes it's good to put the burden back on the person rather than us being on the defensive all the time. Just kind of go on the offensive and just say, well, why is God to blame for this? God told us how to live with each other. And if we disobey him and then have consequences, why do we blame him for it?
Okay, and thank you so much for the very full first answer. I have like 3 pages of notes, so I can go back and study. And
nice.
If it comes up again, and it will. So.
And there's some, Suzanne, there's some great stuff that's available. Some great books, some great videos. There's a book by Christopher Yuan, Y-U-A-N, and the book is called Holy Sexuality. And Christopher came from not only a gay lifestyle, he was a gay activist, became a believer in prison, and serving the Lord today. But he wrote a number of books. But this book, Holy Sexuality, is a powerful book because the thing that he's pointing out is that nobody's saying that you have to stop being a homosexual and become a heterosexual. Neither one of those are really the issue. The issue is a holy sexuality. What does God say about our bodies, who we are, who he created us to be, and what we're to do in response to that? So I would recommend that book. There's a man named Sam Allberry, Allberry. He has a great book on the question, is God anti-gay? Sam is same-sex attracted Christian who lives a celibate life. And so he of course has addressed all of these issues himself. So he's written really beautifully about these things.
Does that help you, Suzanne?
Thank you very, very much. Yeah, it really does. Thank you so much. I really greatly appreciate it.
All right.
All right. Thanks for calling us today on Pastor's Perspective. We are not live if you're listening on the radio on Friday afternoon. Good Friday. We'll be back live again on Monday. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube on Thursday, you guys can call us using the number there on the bottom of your screen. We've got Brian Brodersen, Bobby Conway, and Phil Metzger answering your questions today. Phil's got to go soon because he's doing another television interview or something, or he's getting makeup done for a movie he's going to be in, something like that, I hear. But Phil, are you guys having, well, I'm sure you are having services this weekend, Friday and Sunday. You want to invite people to those?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can't wait. We're so excited. We're doing a Good Friday service. Actually, we're doing it out in our park, a local park here called Mountain Hawk Park. People can find, if they live in San Diego and they're looking for a place, go to calvarysd.com and you can get all the information. But we're going to be doing it in a park amphitheater. We're having a full potluck and just making a whole afternoon, evening of it. And then on Sunday, we're going to be having our services at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., and we're very happy, really blessed. Jeremy Camp and his band will be leading us in worship, and we're going to have a baptism, and it's just going to be a great time celebrating the resurrection of Jesus. So yeah, calvarysd.com.
I think some people just heard, what? A free Jeremy Camp concert? Where?
I know, right?
Hey, Phil, here's a question. Did you guys ever get Uber to help out with getting people anywhere? No.
Dude, I can't. It's amazing. I've got the mayor of San Diego, Todd Gloria, is trying to. I mean, congressmen, everybody, and they're offering free Ubers in Poland for Ukrainians near the border. And I'm kind of begging them. So if Uber's listening right now to Pastor's Perspective,
of course they are. Of course,
please
I brought it up.
reach out, because they might be. Somebody's in an Uber car right now listening to this. Okay.
Yeah.
And they don't have phone numbers anymore. Nobody uses phone. I can't get an office. There's no corporate. It's nothing. So I've been striking out.
Okay. Have you tried reaching out to Elon Musk for anything at this point? Because
we have Starlink at our place. Yes. No, I'm not kidding. In Tijuana, they came down and installed Starlink for us. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But listen, I love you, Elon, but it was not very good service.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but it was fine. I mean, it was a huge help. But no joke, they came in with all the little futuristic deals and set it up, and everybody got internet. This guy, yeah, he gets it done, man. If he owned Uber, he's buying Twitter. I need him to buy Uber immediately.
Maybe he'll give you a Tesla to make up for it, Phil.
Hey, that's all we need. We need about 200 Teslas down here driving people, and we would be all set.
There you go. This is Pastor's Perspective. Let's take one more call before the break. Don't hang up, everybody. Maria in California, what did you want to know?
Hi. My cousin, she's in high school, and she's going to be heading out to college soon. And she's been going through a lot lately, and she's been drawing towards me, and she wants to go to church with me this weekend.
Oh, great.
I'm super excited. And so I want to go and buy her a Bible that she can understand for her age. What would you suggest?
Brian?
I would suggest the NIV and perhaps a study Bible would be really, really good for her. Study Bible is going to be a bit of a bigger Bible, so just transporting it will be a little bit of a challenge. But the NIV as a translation that is easily understood and just written in very, clear, concise language, I think is a great recommendation. And what's called the NLT as well, the New Living Translation. They're very similar. Either one of those would be great. And as a matter of fact, there's an NLT study Bible that Greg Laurie does the notes in that study Bible, and that's a really good one.
Yeah, Marie, hope that helps. And yeah, a study Bible is something I'd recommend too, because sometimes we can just get those shelf Bibles, the ones that are $5, $6, $7, $8, and there's no commentary in it or anything, and it just leaves people kind of lost. So. All right. Thanks for your phone call today, Marie. We are going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more of your questions. If you're on hold right now, stay on hold here on Pastor's Perspective. Not live again today, but we will be live on Monday. Give us a call then. But if you're on hold, stay on hold. We'll be with you in just a little bit. Pastor's Perspective continues now, answering questions on a variety of questions. Remember when we used to say that a long time ago? Never made sense then, doesn't make sense now. I'm Brian Perez. The program is not live today, but it will be live again on Monday, so call us then if you have questions. If you're on hold right now, stay on hold. We'll get to you in a little bit. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube on Thursday afternoon, there's the number there on the bottom of your screen. You see it? Call it and ask your questions. Brian Brodersen and Bobby Conway here to answer those questions. And let's begin this segment with Ian in California. What did you want to know, Ian?
So how are you guys doing? Sorry, I got a little tongue twisted.
Was that your question? That's an easy question. We can answer that one.
We're doing great. Thanks, Ian.
So I'm calling right now in the Bible. In my time with the Lord in the morning, I'm in Ezekiel. And I just read 3 and 4 this morning. And in 4, it talks about when the Lord sends him to Israel, and then he tells him to take 390 days of rest on his left side, and then 40 days on his right for Judah. And then he mentioned something about how to prepare his food, and it says over human waves. And so I just kind of wanted to understand why God would have him do that. I know he has his reasons, but...
That's an interesting morning devotional, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah, I'm like, huh?
Yeah, how did you apply that throughout the day?
Yeah.
Never mind, we don't want to know. Bobby, how would you answer that question?
Well, this is, where the Bible turns a little bit bizarre to us. When you picture, him doing 390 days on his left side, and then God says, okay, turn over, give me another 40 days. That's a long time. Ezekiel's essentially your sidewalk prophet. And God is using Ezekiel metaphorically, basically to show the judgment that's going to fall on his people. In the same way, in the book of Hosea, Hosea is told to take Gomer, and their relationship is going to depict something about Israel's unfaithfulness. So what you have taking place with Ezekiel, and you got to think about just, when you slow down and you read this and you're thinking, man, this would not be, no staff gets together and thinks, I got a great idea for a sermon series, Pastor. Just sit outside the church with pots and pans and, some bricks and just write some siege works on the bricks. But the purpose of the dung is the dung, you could get fuel from dung in order to cook on. And so that would be one of the purposes of the dung, is that, isn't that word funny? Like, dung it, right? Like, it's like that word dung. But really, the bigger idea that's taking place here, bro, is that God's going to judge his people, and Ezekiel is called into a long, drawn-out ministry of literally depicting it in illustrative fashion. So anybody that says that God's not about using illustrations, he was a illustration on his side big time. And so what ends up happening in this is that when you're reading this just shows that the siege that is coming to Jerusalem, Ezekiel is basically symbolizing that, because these people are going to be in a position where they're going to be in a famine, essentially. They're not going to have luxury of food whenever they want. It's going to be far and few between the meals. They're going to have to really long for it. And so Ezekiel's showing what that's going to look like.
Now, with fuel prices so high right now, should we be using... Never mind. I don't want to ask that question. Brian, did you have any thoughts on... Never mind. Nothing.
Yeah, well, the context pretty much explains it. Verse 12, eat the food as you would a loaf of barley, bake it in the sight of the people using human excrement for fuel. The Lord said, here's the reason why. In this way, the people of Israel will eat defiled food among the nations where I will drive them. So cooking the food with human excrement is defiling the food. God's making a point. I'm going to send you into these nations. You're going to eat defiled food there. Now, Ezekiel, understandably, he protests. Then I said, not so, sovereign Lord. I have never defiled myself. From my youth until now, I have never eaten anything found dead or torn by wild animals. No impure meat has ever entered my mouth. Very well, he said, I will let you bake your bread over cow dung instead of human excrement. So God let him off the hook.
He sounds like Peter, right?
Yeah. God let him off the hook. But it was the point was being made, just as the food would be defiled because of this dung, so you're going to eat defiled food. They're going to be, in other words, they're going to be cast into the lands of the Gentiles, and they're going to eat all the foods of the Gentiles. So it's a pronouncement of judgment on them.
Does that help you, Ian?
Yes, very much so. Thank you. That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's tough when your morning devotion is a chapter like that, because you're like, wow, Lord, at that point I kind of...
What's the application?
Yeah. At that point I kind of speed up and look for another, wait, is there something else here that I can maybe grab hold of for the day?
So I wonder what Ezekiel 4:12, how it reads in the Amplified version. Do we want to look that up? No, maybe we shouldn't. Bobby, go ahead.
Right. Well, I would say here's a good opportunity, though, to think about contextualizing this kind of a passage. So and that was a great explanation, Brian. And if you want to learn more, you come down to verse 17 and you'll learn kind of about some of they're going to be really deprived of food and stuff. But that explanation of, okay, how do you apply this? So you're preaching to your audience, or you're leading a Bible study, and the temptation is just to not even bother teaching people this. Like, you know what, this is irrelevant. It doesn't make any sense. But I think that what we can talk about is, well, is there a way that we can illustrate that God's judgment is coming and he will judge sin? And so then you might do some thought in your study, like, well, what's maybe an illustrative way that I could show that God's still judges sin. Or maybe we could take this to the gospel and say something like, aren't you so thankful for Jesus that he paid for all of our sin in a graphic way, illustrating the cost of our sin by being judged on account of our sin, so that when we place our faith in him. So, I mean, there's lots of ways that we can freshen up this passage, so to speak, to help people. But I don't think that we should not teach this. This was a passage to me. I mean, I just would scratch my, really, Ezekiel, some of the things that he was called to, it's just, man, I mean, when you think about John the Baptist, Ezekiel, and Isaiah, I mean, these guys had some tough ministry callings. And, you know, I think about Pastor Brian out there in Southern California, or me in Charlotte, North Carolina. Like, that would be tough. Like, I would probably be more inclined to think, okay, I'm deceived. If God said, Bobby, I want you to go and sit outside of City Barbecue on Easter Sunday, and I want you to, play with pots and pans, and I want you to write on that, my message of coming judgment. But these people got the message. And so I think that we can't think because it would be hard to communicate in this way today that it doesn't mean that it wasn't effective in that time.
All right. Good conversation. Ian, thanks for calling. Next, we're going to go to Helen in California. How can we help you?
Good afternoon. I have a question, and it's kind of heavy on my heart, regarding children with their tender hearts. I heard that where schools, they permit Bible studies, not during class time, but after hours. Mm-hmm. And I heard that some of the schools now are going to allow Satan cult studies for the children. Have you heard that?
Brian, have you heard of that?
No, I haven't heard of that. I mean, things are so crazy these days that I wouldn't necessarily put it past anybody to suggest that something like that could happen. But on the other side of it, I know that there are lots of schools that there are Bible studies on the campus. We have that right here in our area in Santa Ana Unified School District. We have been going on to their campuses for years and years with a release time education program and some different things. So I think I would just say pray. And it is concerning, some of the crazy stuff that's going on school campuses today, but also be hopeful and know that the Lord is still working, and just pray that God will raise up more and more workers that will take it upon themselves, to get into these places and to offset some of the crazy stuff that's happening.
Bobby Conway, go ahead.
It's shocking to think what's taking place in the public school right now. I mean, I think even California had something that they were trying to put together a curriculum that would, kind of revitalize the ancient Aztec religions that took place. But I remember even last week when I was in California, and I can't remember if I shared this with you guys, but my friend who led me to the Lord years ago, we were over at their house. And his daughter's a sophomore in a public school. And she was talking about how they have some furries that go to their school. And the furries are those who self-identify as a feline or a cat. And so she just was talking about how bizarre it is. You have kids showing up, they dress up like cats and put cat ears on and wear a tail. And then they have a counterpart that walks them with a leash. And she was saying that the school is under distress right now because some of the parents of the furries are upset because they want there to be a litter box that is available for their furry available at the school. And the school is not yet acquiesced. And I'm just thinking, at what point are we just going to say this is absolutely unbelievable, absurd in the worst way?
Okay, hold on. This just in. Possibly this whole thing about furries might be fake news.
Yes.
So it is fake news. But it could happen. I mean, nowadays, the way things are going.
This girl told me this girl told me that she's a sophomore. She told me that this is happening. Unless she was just lying to me, she said that she goes to school with furries and she watches them. And she said it's about 60-40. 40% of the people are actually celebrating these kids. And about 60% think it's absurd. So it could be false news there. But I mean, unless she was just bold-faced lying to me, this is what she said's happening in her school. Because I was even going further. I was like, so how do the kids respond? And how many of the kids think that this is right? And how many of them think that this is wrong? And so she was given the statistics and everything.
I think the false part is the part about the litter boxes. That might be the part that's not quite true, but everything else possibly is true with the walking on leashes and all that. That's just nuts. Wow.
But how sad is it to think that I would even like we've become so absurd as a culture that nothing will shock us anymore.
Right.
I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's fine. Now it's going to be litter boxes. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So good. I'm glad to know that we haven't devolved that much.
Well, what happens? My question though is what happens when the kids who identify as dogs show up at school with the furries? You're going to have a lot of violence on the campus. You're going to have,
Yeah, cats and dog fights.
Yeah,
I mean, geez.
Totally. It's going to be
It'll be like
brutal.
West Side Story or
Why
something.
are we even allowing this and entertaining this stupidity?
Yeah, I mean, did you read that Jonathan Haidt article about the last 10 years of America being like years of utter stupidity? So
No, I want to.
Yeah, maybe he's got an answer for us on there. It's all over Twitter, so you could probably find it. I didn't get a chance to read it yet, but I do think that
I think we need to do that, though, Brian. Talk that way of absurdity.
Yeah.
There's a little, in the same way that like the new atheists were effective with their rhetoric and causing so many people to walk away and become apostates.
Yeah.
Because they just made Christians feel so foolish.
Yeah.
Well, while I think we have a defensible belief, I do think that we as Christians, I'm feeling like, look, I want to be kind and I want to be loving, but I almost feel like the only thing that might wake us up from this absolute stupidity is not sitting around and go, oh, that's great if you want to feel like a bobcat today. I really feel like we need to just, that's nuts. It lacks intelligence. It's stupid, where we just, because nobody wants their intelligence insulted. And honestly, if we think that we're a cat, our intelligence needs to be insulted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I did find an article about these after-school Satan clubs in Illinois. The school district is defending.
Brian's still researching.
I'm still, yeah. An extracurricular educational program sponsored by the Satanic Temple of the U.S. The program for children in grades 1 through 5 will be taught by volunteers at the Jane Addams Elementary School and will meet 5 times this year. According to the flyer, the club will consist of science projects, puzzles, games, arts and crafts, etc. The Satanic Temple, essentially an activist group and think tank more than a religious institution, said the program is available at select public schools where good news programs exist and is meant to be educationally enriching. Members have no intention of converting children to Satanism. Well, that's good. Found that on the New York Post website.
Yeah, I'm
Crazy
sure it's all in innocence. The good old Satan Club just wanting to help out the kids. Give them a little after school.
That's right.
Color time.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh, I know. It's gone. It is gone to the point of absurd absurdity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my. Yep.
Helen, thanks for your phone call today on Pastor's Perspective. Chandra in California, how can we help you?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. My question is, in the Old Testament, the original one, the Hebrew version, it's in the beginning in Genesis, it states God created mankind. Gods as in plural. So I would like to know your opinion. And before you answer, please consider, I know a lot of Christians tend to say, that they were talking about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. But that's a Christian narrative. That did not exist at that time. Okay, so what do you think?
Bobby?
Yeah, I would say that that's a very fair statement. And there are even evangelical scholars that would say that that is reading into the text to find the Trinity in Genesis 1 there. God said, let us, right, make man in our image as well. And so there's this us language that's being used. And some would say, you have this Elohim. So there's a couple options. Is there a plural of majesty just to show God's majesty? When the us language is being used there, is this referring to God's angelic host? But I think that when you look at the fact that, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, Deuteronomy 6:4, and then when you think about God's progressive revelation of revealing himself in three persons, then perhaps that it might have been a bit cryptic.
Did God reveal himself in three persons? Did he ever say that? Because I thought Trinity was not something that's in the Bible. When did he?
Well, the word Trinity's not in the Bible, but neither is the phrase kingdom hall. Okay, so I would say that as it relates to God revealing himself, Jesus said, I and the Father are one. He was called God. So we can give a lot of stuff. God the Father calls Jesus God in Hebrews chapter 1. So yes, I mean, Jesus is seen as more than a man. To deny his divinity and to deny the Holy Spirit's divinity, you just throw Christianity out and you arrive as a modern day Jehovah's Witness, or you would retain a Jewish form of faith. Are you a Jehovah's Witness?
No, I don't participate in religion at all because religion is man-made. So I don't participate. I'd rather have the pure, unadulterated truth. That's all.
And where are you going to get that?
Once you're in a
where are you going to get that?
Where are you going to get that true?
Wait, Chandra,
where are you
listen.
going to get that unadulterated truth? Is that just coming from what you think?
It's very hard to come by because otherwise you're operating on just blind faith.
Yeah.
Once you commit yourself to a religion, you're in a box.
Well,
and then the information you receive, you tend to look at it that way.
Well, I mean, I
used to be a Christian, but guess what?
What?
I know Jesus existed, and I don't have to call myself a Christian to believe in Jesus.
That's true.
Because I do. But what I do, I just keep it in prayer for God to please guide me.
Yeah.
To all the questions that I have, please help me. That's all I do.
Yeah.
But I cannot stay in the Christianity box.
But what?
Because my question, right?
But what's your basis for even believing in Jesus? The Bible is the place we learn about Jesus. Do you believe the Bible?
The Bible. Listen, I read it twice, front to back. I'm in my third time now.
Yeah.
I believe that there was. I believe there is truth in it. Yeah. I believe some things might be misleading, and there's a whole bunch of other information missing.
But see, now what you've just told us is basically you are kind of your own God because you just decide what you like and you keep that and you disregard what you don't like. And so you're the one in charge. You've got your own, you don't want Jesus. A religion, but you sort of made up your own. And I don't think that's really that helpful. So maybe
I haven't made up my own religion.
Well, it sounds like
I don't participate in religions. I only want the truth.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, Jesus said that he is the truth. Mm-hmm. And he believed in the scriptures. He said that heaven and earth would pass away, but his words would never pass away. Not one jot or tittle would pass from the law till everything was fulfilled. So if you believe in Jesus and Jesus believed in the scriptures, then you should believe in the scriptures too, don't you think?
Hold on. What do you think of that, Chandra?
I think that sounds ridiculous.
Okay.
It does. Jesus believed in the scriptures. Are you going to speak for him?
Well, he spoke for himself. I don't need to speak for him. He said it. I mean, I'm just quoting to you what he said.
Mm-hmm. Bobby, what would you add?
Yeah, well, Chandra, I mean, I'm glad you called, and I hope that you'll call us again when we have more time. I can sense some of the frustration. I don't know if you grew up and had some bad experiences with ultra fundamentalism and whatever it is. Christianity can bring us to some difficult spots. But I think that what Brian was saying, you got to be careful, because you're saying that, you don't believe in a religion, but then you believe in Jesus, but then you don't believe in the Bible, but that's where, all of it. And that's where we get our information about Jesus. And then you said it's ridiculous that we would believe in the Bible that Jesus believed in. So I would invite you to go back and re-listen to this, because you're kind of contradicting yourself in a lot of ways as you talk. You don't even sound, you don't sound clear in your thinking. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but get some people in your life that you can really talk through honestly about this. Call us up again when we have more time. We'll talk with you. We'd love to talk with you. Because I think that you're the kind of callers that we want to engage on the program. But listen, reading the Bible through twice or three times, it's just not enough. And I don't mean it like that's not important. That's great that you've done that. I've read through the Bible a lot more than that, and I'm still stuck in a lot of places. But you can't approach the Bible like going to TCBY yogurt and tasting what you like and dislike, taking the bit of Jesus that fits with your life and discarding it, because then what are you basing that on? And then you're forming your own viewpoint of Jesus. Okay, well then you say that's not what I'm doing. Well, then you're embracing somebody else's viewpoint of Jesus. And what Brian's saying is, I want to embrace Jesus' viewpoint of Jesus.
Chandra, great call. Please call us again. Like you said, Bobby, we would love to get more calls like that, because that's why we are here Monday through Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific time. Please call us again. Okay, one more question here. Easter related. Matt, go. Quick.
Hey, quick one. Hey, sorry. Thanks for taking my call, guys. So in the Bible, in Matthew 12:40, Jesus is basically stating he's going to be in the grave for 3 days. However, we commemorate his crucifixion on a Friday, and we celebrate his resurrection on a Sunday, which actually isn't 3 days. And I know that there's some correlation between the Exodus story and the selection of the Passover lamb and the days in between Palm Sunday and therein. So essentially what I'm just trying to do is clarify 3 days. Why do we celebrate a Friday to a Sunday if the truth might be something a little bit different than that? And we just wanted to give you guys a perspective. So boom, there it is.
All right, Bobby, 30 seconds.
Some would put the crucifixion on Thursday, having him rise on Sunday. I have no problem with it being on Friday, him rising on Sunday. Some object, wait a second, 3 days and 3 nights. You don't get 3 nights if he dies on Friday, rises on Sunday. But once we understand the way that the language is being used, it's a synecdoche where the part refers to a whole. And so that would be a common way where the part of any 3 days, it could be referring to the whole. And I think that's what you have happening there.
Brian, 15 seconds.
I agree with Bobby. It was great.
You still have 10 seconds.
10 seconds, okay. Easter Sunday, sunrise service, 6 a.m. at Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa, and 10 a.m. in the sanctuary. We'll be outside for the sunrise service.
Awesome. We'd love to see you there. More details at cccm.com. Happy Easter. Pastor's Perspective is sponsored by Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa.